so now what I'm going to do is mix in the resin for the seal coat of the sundeck. And that's essentially to do two things. If you're not doing little things with the flashing, because some people just overlap them or worry about it later, it allows you to get familiar with mixing up the resin. It allows you to get a feel for putting it on the sundeck, whether it's in the sun or the weather conditions. A lot of the times the sun beating down on a surface raises the temperature quite a bit, and you'll have a better idea of how to handle that with mixing your catalyst in, reducing it generally if it's sunny out, by doing this surface coat. Professionals don't always do it, but we do recommend that when you're doing it yourself, you take the extra step. The other thing it does is it seals off the plywood. When you're working in conditions where you may have good weather to finish the job, you may not, then what the resin coat allows you to do is just start up again once the rain has passed, once the sundeck is dry just on the surface. You don't have to worry about having a thorough dry of the plywood underneath, because you've really waterproofed it in a short-term sort of way with the fiberglass resin. So I've got my premix catalyst here. Again, I'm going for a fairly fast cure, and I will just dump that in, give it a good mix. And again, you're looking to have this blue color go away as the catalyst starts to work in the resin. Again, about 30 seconds or so, just a good thorough mix. You want to make sure you go against the sides of the container, on the bottom of the container, and just get everything mixed in with catalyst. Now I can see it's starting to change color there, and it's not streaky or anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and start applying the resin. Now some people ask, whether you need a tray for doing a fiberglass sundeck. My answer is no. Generally speaking, you don't. Now this roller is just a little guy, but it's not a big job here, so that's all I'm going to use. And I just use the surface of the sundeck as the tray, because all you're really doing is just spreading things around. The problem with fiberglass versus, say, a paint, and using a paint tray, is that fiberglass goes through a hardening process, and that process makes it gummy, then hard, and because it's a chemical reaction, adding new resin on top is not going to keep it wet. It's going to harden no matter what. If anything, it might speed up the reaction of your next coats. Whereas if paint, all you have to do is keep it wet in the tray and you're fine. So if you do use a tray, you have to make sure the tray stays liquid. And it's much easier, I find, just to roll it straight on the sundeck. Because then if this gets jelly, starts hardening up on you, you just toss it and your sundeck or your main surface isn't affected. So this is starting to change into an amber here, which is good. Might not be good if you're doing it on a larger project, but it's absolutely what I want on this small project. Remember, when it changes to amber, it just gives you an indication of how much time you have to work with it. You'll also notice that I'm not really going to the edge of the sundeck, edge of the flashing, I should say, with this seal coat. It doesn't hurt to go over the filler, although it doesn't really matter. But I'm not going to worry about avoiding the filler. I'm just going to go over top of everything and end up somewhere on the flashing. And I'm not rolling it on too thick, not too thin. Like I said, the main point here is to seal the plywood. So you want to make sure you get enough on there to do that. But you don't want to put so much on that it leaves little ridges or anything like that. Or puddles. So now I've done the main surface of the sundeck, but I'm also just going to go up the cant strip here, because that's important too, and a little bit past, because I'll be running the mat up a little bit past as well. And no matter what you have on the siding of your house, you can generally go up a little bit past with the resin anyways, because you're going to be hiding all that with flashing, and it's better just to make sure everything's covered than leave a dry spot.